Hello everybody. Welcome to New York City. Just stepped out of the office for the night. Looking up at 432 Park. Hopefully everybody had a wonderful Tuesday. Pretty busy week ahead. We'll get started in a moment. What's up, Alan? Chooch Tech, cheers. This is my only exercise today, walking Tamara. Oh, watching me walk around, yeah, hilarious. Pretty eventful day in the markets, by the way. Tomorrow's the big day. I think that's when we get NVIDIA. Also some notable appointments by President Trump we'll talk about. Michael says the SpaceX launch was amazing. It was. So what happened with that, by the way? So it was going to come down and land in between like the two chopstick things, but then it was unsafe to do so, so they landed it in the water, in the sea. Is that? I didn't really have enough time to watch it live. I watched some of the clips on Twitter. Al Baker says they weren't comfortable with the catch, so they landed it in the ocean. Okay, got it. So does that mean they could reuse it, or they can't reuse it now that it's in the water? What does that mean? Lennox says, yep. Michael says, I bet Musk will develop the military missile shield. I mean, if Elon Musk can send rockets into space at the rate of success that he does, with the frequency that he does it, I mean, that guy could probably build like an Iron Dome on steroids, if you really think about it. But I agree, it was pretty cool to see it, and I think President-elect Trump was watching the launch as well, from what I see. Anyway, we'll get started in a minute, everybody. We are on 57th Street, Park Avenue. It's actually a pretty warm night in New York City, seasonably warm, I'd say. Al Baker says it's amazing we're walking in Earth with that guy that could possibly colonize another planet. Yeah, I believe Elon Musk said today that assuming we don't have population collapse or nuclear fallout that ends civilization, we should become an interplanetary species within our lifetimes, according to Elon Musk. So if that's what the boss says, I agree. I'm not going to bet against the guy who's doing it. Daryl, what's going on? New England Crypto. Michael, cheers. Doc7, D, what's up, everybody? Well, we'll just go ahead and do our quick nightly audio and visual check. If you guys can hear us, and if we're streaming in 1080p, you can go ahead and leave a thumbs up in the chat, and we'll go ahead and get started. A lot to talk about. Particularly kind of piggybacking off of our conversation from last night, speaking about Howard Lutnick, CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. He made some pretty big news. I'm sure you've all heard, Commerce Secretary. I think it's going to be a pretty good pick. We'll see. Looks like we're ready to go. Sounds good. And the stream is good. So good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. It's a beautiful, beautiful night in New York City. We're on 57th Street, Billionaires Row, headed westbound. We're going to go to Columbus Circle, the Deutsche Bank Center. Hopefully we'll be able to walk through the Deutsche Bank Center tonight, take a look at some of the holiday displays, and then we'll try to go down to 34th Street, Herald Square, and check out the one and only Macy's flagship. And maybe we'll walk down Fifth Avenue because they have set up a lot of interesting holiday displays. Now, a few big things, a few notable movements in the market. Intraday today, Bitcoin hit a new all-time record high, trading above $94,000 for the first time in history, although well off of its daily highs. Bitcoin is well off of its daily highs, I think trading around, what is it now, 93,000 or maybe 92.9, give or take a few thousand. What is that? We also had a little bit of a redemption rally in gold. So gold is now back above $2,600 an ounce, which is great. And breaking news, which is very, very historic on Wall Street, we have options trading or derivatives trading that went live today on the IBIT ETF, which is ticker symbol IBIT, the iShares BlackRock Bitcoin ETF. Now, tomorrow the derivatives trading will be expanding to other ETFs. I think the Bitwise ETF is going to go live tomorrow, which is Wednesday, and this is going to be pretty huge. I think the Bitcoin ecosystem needs a very, very liquid options market for hedging, for speculation and the like. So this is some pretty historic stuff that we're witnessing in real time. I mean, when we look back on this in 10 years, we're going to be able to say, yeah, I remember the first day, we were literally witnessing the first day that options and derivatives were traded on these spot Bitcoin ETFs. It's kind of historic, right? It kind of reminds me of back in the day. The people nowadays, they reminisce on when the first options contract was traded and went live, right? Or when, futures started trading on XYZ, right? History is being made every day, and we are living through it, which is quite amazing. So that is the future. We had some pretty decent action across the board, but as you all know, the market, in my view, is really waiting on tomorrow. And tomorrow we get NVIDIA, right? Over a $3 trillion company, massive, massive stock in the S&P 500. I think that's really going to be the make or break. I think there's very, very small room for error for NVIDIA this earnings season. Just being that, where valuations are, S&P 500 trading near all-time record highs, I think the margin of error, so to speak, is quite low. So it'll be interesting to see what we get tomorrow. We had Walmart reporting a blowout earnings report, which is funny because we had a little bit of a conversation regarding Walmart yesterday. We were kind of singing the company's praises. The stock really took off today, but closed almost at the dead low of the day. I mean, Walmart has been one of those stocks that has been performing exceptionally well. Pretty much, if you look at the rise in Walmart stock price, very, very low volatility, which is very reminiscent of rampant institutional accumulation for that stock. Hit a new all-time record high today, but closing near the lows of the day. But nonetheless, a really, really solid earnings report from Walmart. I would say the two leaders that you kind of really want to pay attention to as it relates to grocery, produce, and delivery, you could also throw in pharmacy there as well, would be Walmart and Amazon. We always say, Jim Cramer says, Apple is one of those stocks that you don't trade, you just own it. That's really been the case for a Walmart. It's just an absolute powerhouse of a company. And they reported a really, really good quarter. So anyway, that's really pretty much all that went on today. Oh yeah, Howard Lutnick, who is the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald. He was appointed by President Trump, or President-elect Trump, to be the in a major position. We're standing outside of Trump Tower right now, funny enough. But with that being said, let's say hello to everybody in the chat, and we'll go ahead and get started. I see Peter's here. This is top of the evening, everybody. John, always appreciate you joining. I see Michael. Cheers. Professor Dario, welcome. Hopefully you're doing good over in Argentina. Lots of positive things happening in Argentina, by the way, too. I mean, that economy is turning around in a major way. Let's just wait until this guy goes into the Trump gates, so to speak. Now, the only unfortunate thing, so we're on the corner of East 56th Street and 5th Avenue. Now that Trump has won the presidency, more than likely you're going to see 56th Street totally closed down between 5th Avenue and Madison Avenue. You see these big, and rightfully so, right, obviously. The police barricades, these, NYPD, huge, kind of like cinder block barriers, and then this mechanical gate. So, no through traffic on 56th Street. I would even, probably place my bets on that being in perpetuity. But you never know. David is here. What's going on? Cheers to you. Thanks for joining us. Con I am. This is late start. Yeah, I apologize for that. Over the last really 2 or 3 days, we've been starting rather late. Now, the reason for that is business activity in New York City. I've never seen it like this. Business activity in New York exploded. I'm so busy, it's just like, I can't even begin to describe how busy and how stressed. Not stressed in a bad way, stressed in a good way. Could it be because Trump won the election? I don't know. I'll leave that up for you guys to decide. But after the election, an explosion of business activity here. Huge. Just people are in deal mode for whatever reason. I see Land of the Mitten is here. Good to see you. Dave in Maine. Harry is here. What's going on? Victor. Cheers to you. New England Crypto, good to see you. Hopefully you were quite excited for today. The Bitcoin hit a new all-time record high intraday, $94,000 per Bitcoin, but obviously we paired those, definitely paired those gains throughout the day. Al Baker says people like the outcome of the election. Emma says, hello, Tom. I think you're right. I think most people like the outcome of the election. Although, even if you wanted current Vice President Kamala Harris to win, I think everyone's just relieved that it's over. Can we all agree on that at least? I really do believe, whether you're a Democrat or you're a Republican, particularly if you live in a swing state, my God, I think everybody is just so over the election. Give me a second. Let me wipe my camera lens. I'm not too sure. The picture seems a little bit fuzzy. Give me a second, everybody. Is that better? I don't know what happened. Anyway, I'll have to figure that out at another time. Real quick question, rapid fire for the audience. Thoughts about Howard Lutnick today? Are you happy with the appointment? Are you disappointed? What are your thoughts? I think Howard Lutnick is a sharp guy, and I believe that I think he'll do a really good job. Let me see one thing. Yeah, Peter says Commerce Secretary is fine. Reggie44 says great. I'm very excited for the pick. I think he's going to do a lot of good, Howard Lutnick. Now, for those of you who don't know, Howard Lutnick, obviously the CEO of Cantor Fitzgerald, going all the way back to the World Trade Center, where he quite literally lost more than half of his company on September 11th because his company, Cantor Fitzgerald, were in the top floors of the World Trade Center. And essentially, the guy lost more than half of his company on impact on September 11, 2001. He was able to rebuild the company from scratch while giving 25% of all of the profits to the victims of the families that died on 9/11. So the guy is an operator, right? A master operator. And when we talk about the investment business, right, when we talk about and do a post-analysis, as I like to say, on the most winningest stocks in history, one of the most common factors about those stocks is the stewardship or the CEO, right? Who was the leader of that company? You think about Meta. You have a master operator with Mark Zuckerberg. You think about Tesla. Master operator, Elon Musk. Microsoft, at the time, Bill Gates, master operator. Going back to, I get, some people are crossing against the light. But you know what? These drivers know that it's the holidays, and they know that it's Fifth Avenue, and they know that there's a lot of tourists. You can slow down and give people a little bit of grace as they're crossing the street. That's just my opinion. Anyway, Amazon, you think about Jeff Bezos, total operator. Now, you have Andy Jassy. So, to have people with a proven track record, an ethical proven track record to build massive companies through adversity, by the way, right? Through steep and extreme adversity, that is pretty comforting. So I think Howard Lutnick was a fine choice. Yeah, that's right. 446 is he also lost his brother on 9/11. There was a really, really good interview with Howard Lutnick. I think I've brought this up a few times here as we're standing outside of St. Thomas Church. But if you just type in Howard Lutnick Pomp Podcast, so POMP, that was probably one of the best podcasts I've listened to in a long, long time. It went in many different directions on, when he first started at Cantor, when he was 19 years old, to becoming CEO of the company. At I think 29 years old, he was the CEO of Cantor. To getting involved in Bitcoin, and now where he is now, part of the Trump transition team. Hey Cameron, what's going on? It's good to see you. NBA Elias says hello, Tom. Hope you had a good day. I had a pretty good day, particularly earlier in the day, as we saw new record highs for Bitcoin, and gold is getting a little bit of a rallying cry as well. I think we're over $2,600 an ounce now for gold, but we're still trading below the 50-day. So caution is warranted there, but I'm still bullish. Precious metals in general. Now, there was some massive crowd on the corner of 52nd Street today, I think finally watching the light show that went up at this Cartier store. As we cross to the right, we're going to see it a little bit better, but I believe they're finally finished putting it up. The inkwell says, my late cousin worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. How'd they like it? Wow, let's cross the street and take a look at this. And then we'll head up to Columbus Circle because I want to check out the Deutsche Bank Center again. We saw it a little bit last night, but what do you guys think of this? Not like super Christmassy. Doesn't really remind me of the holidays, but does look good. I mean, just the overall facade of the building looks amazing. Let's try to stand back a little bit. so we could see it just a tad bit better. I don't know, what do you guys think? First impressions. Hey, Chloe's here, A Simple Life, welcome. Noodle says, I wish I didn't sell Kava at 80. Yeah, I mean, that stock has even kind of defied my expectations. I think once we initiated coverage on Kava, I think the stock is up over 100%. Oh, look at this. Maybe I think it was cool to watch the. That was the first time I've seen the whole thing come around. Maybe this will take a place for Saks Fifth Avenue. Maybe it'll fill the void, so to speak, but we'll see. Hey, Brad's Brain, what's going on? Palantir had a little bit of a rally day. We had one distribution day on Palantir. And we pretty much bounced right back to where we were the previous day's trading. And then some. I mean, this is a really, really strong market. Hey, Ivan, what's going on? I know, Brad says, what didn't rally today? The problem is a lot of things had quite the lackluster close. We talked about Walmart specifically. I mean, Walmart's earnings just absolutely killed it, crushed it. That stock was up massively intraday, but closed almost on the dead low. Now, what I'm most impressed with, and we've talked about this before, but I think it's good for review, I'm most impressed with Netflix, by far. If you go to my X page, Twitter page, whatever you want to call it, we've been posting about this quite a bit. And before Netflix earnings, I said this is really reminding me of a company that I used to trade back in 21, so 2020, 21, and it was called Twilio. TWLO was is the ticker symbol for Twilio. And I remember this particular earnings gap that I bought into. And essentially Twilio was coming off a beautiful beat and raised earnings report. The stock gapped up 20% after hours and ran an additional 5% during the day. And many people thought, you know what, I missed the move. That's it, there's no way, I'll probably buy it on a pullback. But if you study these really, really monstrous moves, particularly into new all-time record highs, right? So if a stock, they'll beat earnings expectations, they'll raise forward guidance, and then the stock will gap into a new record high and run the next day. Very, very seldom that stock comes back. You usually have what's called a lockout rally, where the stock will just ride its 10-day moving average all the way up. That's what's going on with Netflix right now. You can really see this on a better time frame, and I posted these charts on my X page if you just follow @WalksWallStreet. But just really nice moves with Netflix. Even though everybody's pissed off about the whole Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing, I think that was the most bullish thing that could have ever happened for Netflix, as we've stated before, because it opens up a whole new TAM, a whole new market for the company of streaming live sports. Yeah, was the stream terrible? Yes, did it buffer? Whatever. People will get over it. The point is 65 million people showed up to watch a buffering stream. Okay? 65 million people showed up, turned on their Netflix to watch an unwatchable buffering boxing match. So can you imagine, once they get all their ducks in order, so to speak, have bigger talent, right, than Mike Tyson, Jake Paul? What do you think what numbers do you think they're going to do then? So this is huge. That was a massive, massive day for Netflix. A lot of people on the street are interpreting that as super bearish for the stock. And they're saying, with the disastrous, Jake Paul, Mike Tyson thing, Netflix is a short. No, it's actually the opposite. All right, guys, this is Rockefeller Center. Look at this. You have the Rockefeller Center Christmas tree. We might as well walk and check out the ice skating rink. Jeff says, but so what? Do they actually get more subscribers? That wasn't pay-per-view. Yeah, they absolutely do get more subscribers for that. Think about we'll know in the next earnings report, which I think is going to be a smoke show. But Netflix has returned to subscriber growth after Reed Hastings has cracked down on the password sharing. Think about all the teeny boppers that would watch Jake Paul on YouTube that made their parents buy a Netflix account just to watch this fight. It's a lot of people. You'd be surprised, and I think you're probably going to get exact metrics from that on the next earnings report. Obviously, it's a 3-month look back, so the next report we're probably going to get those numbers. But I think it was significant. Brad's Brains is one new subscriber Friday, specifically to watch the crap show of a fight. Yeah, I know Joel PMs is bullish for whoever supplies data center capacity for Netflix. Now, any predictions for tomorrow? Because tomorrow is really the big day for the market. You kind of saw volumes taper off today. And in my view, that's everybody waiting for NVIDIA to report tomorrow. So any kind of predictions or any feelings about what we may or may not see tomorrow? NBA Elias says, Tom, what would a disappointing earnings report do to the market and NVIDIA stock? I think NVIDIA will crush earnings. I think it'll definitely pull the index down if NVIDIA bombs. But from what I'm seeing so far, like if we just pull up a chart of NVIDIA, right? It looks like the stock is holding up quite well and is trying to run up the right side of that base into earnings, which tells me that a lot of the smart money thinks that NVIDIA is going to report a pretty decent report. But we'll see. Michael says just follow Nancy's trades and make $100,000 GPUs, and they promise to double that next year. Well, what do you think that means for Meta? What do you think that means for Microsoft, Amazon? I mean, if you get a double across the board in NVIDIA's largest customers, well, I mean, just do the math, right? I do believe we are in an arms race, for lack of a better terminology, for AI infrastructure. Zuckerberg doesn't want to get behind the 8 ball. Andy Jassy doesn't want to get behind the 8 ball. And most certainly, Microsoft doesn't want to get behind the 8 ball. So I think you're going to see an overwhelming balloon in spending. And many of you will say this, which I think is actually a very fair point. You'll say, well, Tom, when do you think companies will start to capture actual revenue and profitability from AI? And I would say much later. Usually in an adoption cycle, what happens is you have overspending on the infrastructure, and you have analysts coming out on the street saying, well, the payback isn't going to be for another 5 to 6 years. They're just spending so much money. The CapEx is exploding across the board, which it is, right? I mean, CapEx is exploding across the board. But that's just how it needs to be if these companies want to stay competitive in the AI space, which is a big benefit to NVIDIA. So look to Zuckerberg, look to Andy Jassy, look to Elon Musk building out XAI, and I think that demand alone should comfortably power NVIDIA. Any disagreements with that take? Any other thoughts? All right, let me read a few comments here. Michael says, how does someone spend $1.5 billion in 3 months to end up $20 million in debt? Not too sure what that's in reference to. Brad's Brain says, SMCI had a great day today. I wouldn't touch the schizophrenic stock. But man, it moves. I think they acquired a new auditor, right? I think EY dropped them, and now they have a new auditor. Yeah, I don't know. That gets me a little bit nervous. That's kind of something I don't want to play around with. But I think it was up 40% after hours yesterday and ran a little bit more through today. Adams says innovation is key. Intel really missed the moment with AI. I agree. Professor Dario says, is it raining? It is raining, which is very strange because I checked the forecast and it showed everything was clear tonight. So I don't know. Maybe we'll have to hang out under the Radio City Music Hall awning until the rain stops. Crypto Meme says, hey Tom, Bitcoin Magazine just reported that Michael Saylor will meet with the Microsoft board about their Bitcoin treasury. I heard about that. I think that meeting is going to take place next week. They have like a 15-minute meeting with the Microsoft board. Brad's Brain says, Tom, I've been watching APLD. I'm intrigued. Stock is moving. Yeah, it was up 20% today. Now, for those of you who don't know, ticker symbol APLD, I was looking through some of the 13F filings. I do this from time to time. NVIDIA specifically. NVIDIA accumulated about a 3% stake in this company. So, again, I'm not recommending you buy it. I'm going to do a little bit more work on the company, but if Jensen is going to acquire a 3% stake and essentially buy 3% of the company, I think we should probably all be paying attention to that. The ticker symbol is APLD. Now, this just came out in their recent 13F, but the stock has really started to move over the last 2 days. Again, I'll probably have to do a little bit more work on the company. I do not have a position, but we will see. We will see. Adam says, Tom, do you have any crypto meme coins? If so, which ones? Nope. Michael says we need to start a GoFundMe. All right, enough with the Kamala stuff. I understand, but I don't think it's going to help us with our investment decisions. Jack says inflation will be the thing to watch. Perhaps you're right, Jack. We talked a little bit about Walmart today. Did anybody see what Walmart said specifically about the tariffs or potential Trump tariffs? Anybody see that little excerpt? So perhaps that's a risk, right? Walmart reported earnings, which crushed, by the way. And now the CFO came on the call and said potential increase in tariffs could potentially force us to raise prices. So we'll keep that on the radar. Mimi says yes, and will affect toys and clothes. Now, here's the thing, right? To Mimi's point. I think, well, and we've said this before, and this is a beautiful shot of Radio City Music Hall. I mean, this is just gorgeous here. Let me stand back a little bit further. I mean, Christmas in New York City looks so awesome. You know, the tariffs were really explained to the American people in a disingenuous way on both sides, on the Republican side and the Democrat side, right? And what I mean by that is, yes, tariffs, if Trump really goes balls to the wall, right, and throws down everything he's got on the table, that is going to cause short-term price hikes across the board. But what that does, it is a short-term pain for a potential upside of a long-term gain. It's trade, right? It helps bring things back to the negotiating table to hammer out new deals. The problem is the following. If the administration was honest with the American people and pitched it that way, you would never win an election like that. And the Democrats are not stupid. So they'll just say, look, tariffs are going to make everything more expensive. You have Mark Cuban, tap dancing on The View that nobody watches, saying that, Donald Trump is going to make everything more expensive because of the tariffs. Tariffs bad, right? They're talking to you like you're subhuman, lukewarm IQ individuals that can't process data, which I think is quite, frankly, embarrassing and a little bit, just overall condescending and patronizing, so to speak. If everybody told the truth about it, it was like, look, if we want to do something about our deficit, if we want to put the country first, we got to get everybody back to the negotiating table and work out better trade deals. And one of the many tools in our toolbox to do that is by deploying tariffs, which will get everyone back to the negotiating table, but prices are going to go up in the interim for the opportunity to renegotiate deals in the long term. That's the honest way that it's going to work. And there's no guarantee that you're actually going to get a better deal, by the way, right? I think we will, but there's no guarantees. But again, you don't win elections by telling the truth. You win elections by, being hyperbolic and bombastic and, talking to people like they are, lukewarm IQ, so to speak. So short-term pain on the tariffs, long-term gain over the long term, I think. I don't know, any disagreements there? Ratfink, what's going on? Good to see you. $79.14. This is concerned about wine prices. Now, you know what's something really interesting that I saw the other day? Apparently, there's an overall massive glut on the market for wine, and less people globally are drinking wine. Did anybody see that? Now, this originally started when LVMH, this was maybe 3 quarters ago, or this was maybe 2 quarters ago or 3 quarters ago, I can't remember. But LVMH posted earnings, and every single business segment was in growth mode except the spirits business. And they attributed that to less people drinking alcohol. Is there some interesting correlation we could draw here? Or is this just cyclical for, the wine and the spirits business? Or do you really think that just less people are interested in drinking alcohol? Peter says, I agree, tariffs are a negotiating tool. Mark Francis 076 says, well, young people don't drink as much as their parents. Is that true? Maybe it's true. Steve Young says, I'd say at least the United States, people are moving to THC versus alcohol. Maybe that has something to do you think that has anything to do with the, I would say more, how do we call this? Welcoming regulatory environment around marijuana? Monday says, I think health tech progresses. People are realizing more how bad alcohol is for your body. David says, non-alcoholic producer, athletic producer has seen insane growth over the last 3 years. Thomas Fisher says, this coming March 9th will be 13 years for me without a drop of alcohol. Wow. Well, that's huge. Congrats. That's awesome. That's awesome. David says, athletic brewing. I feel as if a lot of those hard seltzers have kind of been doing really good. I don't know. I don't drink alcohol, but I always see like commercials for them, and they're all top sponsors on like podcasts and stuff. Desi says, this coming May, it will be 31 years that I haven't had a drop of alcohol. Wow. Congrats to you. got a little battle royale here on 50th Street. We'll cross the street and then we'll head back up towards Columbus Circle. Mimi says, do you think the Fed will hike rates in December? Hike rates or cut rates? They're definitely not going to hike rates. This is Barclays. This used to be the old Lehman Brothers. Tap outs, a super micro stock is done, SMCI. I really have no skin in the game for that. But I think it was up 40%. They have a new auditor or something like that, so. Huge Texas weed should be completely legal in all 50 states. Cheaper, grown correctly and readily available for everybody. Well, it looks like that's what's going to come to fruition. All right, let's start to head uptown. I'll give you one quick look down into Times Square. All right, real quick question. I wanted to ask this. What do you think the probability is, right, the likelihood on a percentage basis that once, Trump is inaugurated, during his 4-year term, will we have some sort of a Bitcoin treasury strategic reserve? What do you guys think? Percentage basis. And remember the new appointment today, Howard Lutnick. Reggie 44 says yes. I think after today I give it 60%. I give it 60%. MB Elias is 50%, Andrews is 30%, TK Porsche is 75%, Peters is 35%. I think it's a pretty high probability. I think the bigger play is the following. Well, let's actually just preface this by saying the following. If the United States adopts some sort of strategic Bitcoin reserve, that's going to force every single country on Earth to follow suit, and that is going to be massive, right? The extra stretch that we also may see is more companies adopting like a micro strategy type of strategy, becoming a Bitcoin treasury company, right, where they issue debt and use those funds to acquire more Bitcoin. Now, we saw the breaking news that Michael Saylor is going to be having a meeting with the board of Microsoft to discuss a potential, putting Bitcoin on the balance sheet. We'll see. Thomas Fisher says it's a total Ponzi. I apologize, it's massive Ponzi. Now, one of my very, very teeny, tiny, small bull theses for Bitcoin goes back to an old saying that if everybody understands it, there's no alpha in it, right? And it goes back to also the asset classes, the stocks or the commodities or the investments that have the most explosives, has the most explosive moves. Essentially, they really have two opposing extremes that are so severe, right? For example, Bitcoin. You ask somebody about Bitcoin, it's either they're obsessed with it, they're like in a cult and they want to sell you some and they're trying to get you to buy some. They never stop talking about it. And on the other side of the spectrum, like a Peter Schiff, will dedicate his entire life and his entire Twitter account and his entire podcast talking about how Bitcoin is going to go to zero, it's a Ponzi scheme, yada, 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 right? Those are the assets that tend to have the most explosive moves. I posted something on X today kind of making this comparison to Tesla. Now, remember the Tesla move, the monstrous move that Tesla had from June of 2019 until November of 2021. Does anybody want to take a guess at the percentage gain? Maybe some of you already saw my tweet. But what was the percentage gain for that bull cycle for Tesla? The latter half of 2019 all the way up into the blow-off top of 2021 that marked the start of the bear market for growth stocks. Does anybody want to take a guess on the percentage gain that Tesla went through in that year? Anybody want to take a guess as we check out Stephen Colbert, The Late Show here? This is also the former headquarters of Bad Boy Entertainment to the right. 79 says 48%, Dale says 70%, Spine says without looking 5,000%, Rat Fink says 30%, NBA Live says 45%, Alfonso says 8,000%. You guys are close. Reggie says 1,000%. So if you look at my X post, if you follow @WalksWallStreet on X, Tesla had a 3,000% move. I'll say that again. Tesla had a 3,000% move. Go check it out. It's from the dead low of 2019 all the way up to the explosive blow-off top in 2021 that marked the irrational, exuberant blow-off top that started what I like to call the more severe tech wreck of 2021. Remember? I mean, I'll give you an example. It's like following Elon Musk. And then on the other side, you have, these short-selling companies that think Elon Musk is a fraud. They think that Tesla's a fraud. They think the company is going to go to zero, and they're out to short the stock, right? There's very, very seldom in between, right? You have people that either love Elon and love Tesla, or they can't stand the guy. They think he's an egotistical maniac. They think he's evil. They think, throw out any other name, that's what they think. Those stocks are the ones that have the most explosive moves and the best vol, right? And my next prediction, right? Every single bull market has a poster child stock. I'll say that again. Every cyclical bull market has the poster child stock. Now let's go back and review the 2000 tech wreck. I'm sure many of you who are watching in the audience, lived through the dot-com bubble, traded through the dot-com bubble, and some of the stocks that really blew off, right? Cisco was one of them, right? That was like the poster child stock. Everybody loves Cisco. You think about bull markets past, General Electric during one point was like the stock of the century. I think the poster child stock for the 2021 mania, right, that included all of these SPAC, special purpose acquisition companies, and the like that turned out to be frauds, was Tesla. This cycle, I think the stock that's going to be so over the top, cartoonishly nuts, that's pretty much going to make a mockery out of the market, is probably MicroStrategy. I mean, it's very reminiscent what's going on with MicroStrategy now, and it's very possible that this is just the beginning of a monster move in MicroStrategy. It's going to get so cartoonishly, irrationally exuberant, it's going to make people's heads spin. And that's exactly what happened with Tesla in 2021. It was like every day Tesla was up another 10%. Everyone was posting how much money they were making with Tesla stock, and then it had that huge 2-year bear market that we're just emerging out of. So every single bull cycle has a poster child fund. If you go back to 2021, everyone was always talking about Cathie Wood. She was on CNBC every single day. It's like she owned the news network, right? Newspapers in Korea were calling Cathie Wood the money tree, right? Irrational exuberance, over the top, crazy. This cycle, which will probably last for, maybe 24 months, give or take, it's going to be all about Michael Saylor and MicroStrategy, if you look at a monthly chart of MicroStrategy stock, and again, I'm not recommending anybody make any decisions to either buy or sell, but if you look at a monthly time frame of MicroStrategy, we are just now, last week, trading above the 2000 dot-com crash top for MicroStrategy. This is over a 24-year base that MicroStrategy is now emerging out of. And you have all the fundamental factors kind of aligning, right? You have this thematic trend with Bitcoin, MicroStrategy essentially changing from an enterprise software company to a Bitcoin custody treasury company. This cycle, if you see 150,000 Bitcoin, that roughly implies, this cycle, if you see a $250,000 Bitcoin, that roughly implies like a $1,200 MicroStrategy per share price. I did the work at the office. I have the model. I could share it with you guys. But I think that is going to be the irrational, exuberant, crazy nonsense stock that puts a top in the market. That's kind of my view. All right, let's walk up Broadway here, and we'll go right to, what's it called? 1 Central Park West. Hey, Carla is here. What's going on? Welcome. Paul Yost. How are you, Paul? Reggie 44 says Palantir, maybe. $79.14 says Tom. Do you have any vices since you don't drink? Yes. I'm probably addicted to caffeine. So I think I probably drink too much coffee, to be quite honest. I think that's probably one of my vices. I probably spend way too much money on it. And I drink way too much of it. But at the end of the day, it's like, look, you only live once, and I don't do blow. I'm not on fentanyl, thank God. I don't do any type of drugs. I don't even smoke weed. So, look, if I blow it out, every once in a while, not every once in a while, it's every day, to be quite frank. Is it the end of the world? No. And it's enjoyable. So, that's it. I sit down, I read the paper, I hang out. Sometimes I meet friends, business acquaintances at coffee shops in the city. Could I make it at home for 10 cents? Probably. But I don't care. I'm gonna spend it. Yeah, Austin, that is true. Says caffeine is a drug. You're right. So that's probably the only drug I am addicted to is caffeine. That's true. That is true. It is a drug. Yeah, Lee, right? Hilarious. Mimi says it has antioxidants. Now, we were having this conversation about alcohol tonight. I'm sure all of you heard those studies that were done that say, hey, if you have, 1 glass of wine a night, it's actually healthy. Do you think those studies are real? I'm a big believer in everything in moderation, and I have a theory that's not based in any type of science. So completely ignore what I'm saying. I don't give out medical advice. Listen to a doctor. I'm not trained. I have no education. This is just us punting on the internet. But just from observing people in my life, I know people who chain smoke a pack of cigarettes a day, big drinkers, and they have so much energy and they're in their late 70s. But I have people who don't do any of that stuff, but they're so high-strung and stressed out, and they've had heart attacks at 55 years old. So my conclusion that I've come to is that the biggest killer out there is stress. If you live a very, very high stress, strung out life, I think that's probably worse than doing any type of drug or drinking alcohol. there has to be some high correlation there. If you live a very relaxed life or like a positive stress life, there's positive stress and there's negative stress. If you just have an unrelenting amount of negative stress in your life, that is a sentence for an early death. Just from my experience and knowing people. Anyway, guys, this is the Deutsche Bank Center. Hang with Mark Mom says, Tom, my mother-in-law smoked 5 packs of cigarettes per day. Wow. I could not be near her as I am highly allergic to smoke. Jeez. Professor Dario says, no, I have read new studies, and they say wine does not have positive effects on health. The problem is the amount. Troy Atman says, Tom, do you think the stock market is good or bad for stress? I think it all depends on someone's temperament. Oops, I missed a super chat. I apologize. Let me go back. Hey, ×2. Thank you so much for your $2 donation. It says, can we go to the Brooklyn Bridge tonight? Probably not tonight, just because we're so far away from the Brooklyn Bridge. But I will try to get you there either Thursday night or Friday night. But I do appreciate your generous donation. I really, really do. Thank you so much. Anyway, just a quick reminder to everybody. I did send out our free investing newsletter on Thursday, so go ahead and check your email. But if you like the finance and investing talk that we have each and every night, check out our Substack. We publish all of our research to our Substack. There's about 2 years of archived research there. You can just scan the QR code on your screen or type !news, NEWS, in the chat, and it'll drop the link to our Substack. We're also going to start putting out more video content on our Substack. We're getting close to 2025, so you do not want to miss that. If, God forbid, we can't do a stream or something like that, we will be over there. So check us out. CK Miami, thank you so much for your generous $10 donation. I appreciate your generosity, your kindness. And I'll try to get you guys in the Deutsche Bank Tower. This used to be called the Time Warner Center. Deutsche Bank has taken it over. This is the German investment bank. But CK Miami, MIA, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Oh, Thomas says, I'm on Substack, The Opulent Life. I think I've seen you over there. Thank you so much. Hey, Hawaii is joining us. What's up, Hawaii? We usually get kicked out of the Time Warner Center, but we might as well take a look at it. David says, Tom, have you tried to replace coffee with tea? I actually have. So here's the interesting thing with me about tea. I don't know what it is. I can only drink green tea. If it's anything else like an herbal tea, I get these crazy heart palpitations. Seriously, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the tea itself. Maybe it's like the type of caffeine content that's in it. But if I drink hot tea, like herbal tea, 10 times out of 10, I get these crazy, like, heart palpitations, like heart murmurs. It's weird. I don't know. Maybe I should probably get that checked out, but I don't get that with coffee, though. I could drink like 10 cups of coffee and I could, like nothing. But with tea, it's almost like a little scary. All right, let's see what Deutsche Bank has to offer here. Brad's Brain says, Tom, a good cigar can be amazing, relaxing, and delicious. Well, I definitely smell it a lot when I'm in Miami. If you go to Little Buenos Aires, you will smell a lot of cigar smoke there. They have a pretty nice holiday display here. Peter says you may have an allergic reaction to the tea. Nothing to do with the caffeine. It's probably more than likely what it is, honestly. I mean, what about you guys? Are you guys tea drinkers, coffee drinkers? What are your thoughts? Hey, Western Mass Dave. Good to see you, sir. Just in time, we're going to check out the Christmas setup here in Deutsche Bank Center by the Jazz at Lincoln Center. Oh, that's right, Hawaii. You sent me you don't drink coffee at all. All right, we'll do one quick walkthrough. If they kick us out, it is what it is. We'll obey the rules and we will leave peacefully. What do you guys think? I think they did a better job this year than last year. Quite nice, isn't it? It's funny, the Lululemon is right across from that Aloe store. And I think that Aloe is taking a lot of market share from Lululemon. Anyway, if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video. Click the subscribe button if you're new. We tend to do these every day starting at 8:45. But let's go to 15 Central Park West because the matte red Cybertruck is there again tonight. I've been seeing a ton more Cybertrucks hit the streets in New York City. There's probably been like a 20% uptick in Cybertrucks. And this is also the Mandarin Oriental Hotel right here. I know, Thomas says it looks like a dumpster on wheels. I don't know, I'm almost like borderline obsessed with the Cybertruck. I think I have an unhealthy obsession with the Cybertruck. Assuming I could spend a little bit more time in Miami next year, fingers crossed, I probably will be buying a Cybertruck. This is Billionaire's Row. This is walking up towards Lincoln Center. I think Tesla had a good day today. I think you'll see new all-time record highs for Tesla Q1 of 2025. Dave saw another Cybertruck today. Oh, very cool. They're all over the place. I don't know. I'm a big fan of EVs. Huge fan. Troy Atman says, Tom, I did not like the news about the U.S. government getting rid of the EV tax credit. The $7,500 credit was huge. Definitely need that credit. Now, is that official? Because I saw that as well, and I'm not a fan of that either. Oh, isn't Target going to report earnings tomorrow too? Or did they already report? I forget. But it's either Target, ticker symbol TGT, is going to report tomorrow. I forget. Walmart reported today. Great quarter. All right, we'll check out one of the most sought after places in all of New York City, 15 Central Park West. I think we just missed the matte red Cybertruck. I just saw it before I started the stream. It was parked right here. Must have left. Anyway, here's the main valet entrance of 15 Central Park West. This is just an awesome building. Amazing. This is just amazing building here. Cool view of Steinway Tower, the skinniest residential apartment building in the world, and a little bit of 432 Park. Just amazing craftsmanship in this building, the limestone building. This is home to many of the world's most famous financiers. But here you have 220 Central Park South with the gold top, and behind it you have Central Park Tower. And this is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. 1 Central Park West, which doesn't appear too busy tonight. Let's walk right in front of it. The best units at 15 Central Park West are in the westernmost facing one, so right on Central Park West, not the bigger building in the back, and getting a full floor or a quarter floor unit with the balcony that sits just above the tree line of Central Park. That's the best. Those are the best units by far. Those huge balconies, terraces, right on the tree line. You can see all of Billionaires Row. And really nice sunset over the Upper East Side. Daniel Loeb, I think, has a really nice place in here. He's a good follow on Twitter. And also Lloyd Blankfein, former CEO of Goldman Sachs. But I want to take you guys to the courtyard at 15 Central Park West. We just have to make a left on West 62nd Street. Someone is saying that we talk about the Spirit Airlines. We did talk about the Spirit Airlines bankruptcy. I just think that company is a disaster. It was like the magic elixir for a disaster. Terrible customer service, terrible customer experience. And according to their own employees, they really treated their employees like garbage, particularly the flight attendants. They had multiple encounters where the flight attendants had to go on strike because of just how bad the working conditions were. So here's the courtyard at 15 Central Park West. What do you guys think? It's awesome in there, isn't it? This is the main service entrance. And then this is looking up at the best front-facing building. It's amazing. Just an amazing building. And here you have Central Park. And look, not to kind of dump on Spirit Airlines, but just the airline business overall is a terrible business. There's just too many factors at play. Way too many factors at play. And it's just not a good business. I would even go as far to say as the airline business is borderline uninvestable. It's a very, very tough business. MBA Elias says Spirit Airlines should have been allowed to merge with JetBlue, but the government screwed that up. Now one less airline for competition. Yeah, that's right. They blocked that. I don't know. It's yeah. I mean, you guys know my thoughts on Spirit Airlines. I kind of went on a little bit of a tangent last night about how much I don't like Spirit, but it's just the airline business is really, really tough. And Spirit tried to go bottom of the barrel, but it's almost impossible to go bottom of the barrel when you're dealing with aircraft 30,000 feet above the sky, right? I really do believe you get what you pay for. And, if you tolerate bad behavior from customers, you're going to have very low employee morale because the employees are going to feel like you're not backing them up. And again, a lot of people got upset at me last night when I was saying this, but it's true. I mean, I'm just reading from what the employees are saying. Many of the Spirit Airlines flight attendants, to use their words, not mine, borderline, what did he say? Borderline, they didn't say unsustainable, they said inoperable, or essentially the working conditions were so poor that, the flight crew was demoralized. And it's very dangerous to have a flight crew that's demoralized when they're trying to operate aircraft. This is an awesome Cybertruck. Look at that. Damn, that's an awesome Cybertruck. I guess the matte kind of texture, the matte black, is really growing on me. I would probably go as far to say that this is probably the best wrap on a Cybertruck. This is the bellman at the Trump Tower trying to get the cab for this gentleman. Very New York moment. Hang with Mark Mom says I used to fly Delta to Florida all the time, and now it's Southwest. I mean, what is the audience's airline of choice, so to speak? I always choose American Airlines. Western Mass Dave says you certainly do not want unhappy employees while an airplane is full. Yeah. Yep. Agreed. And this is, Dave, I don't know if you were here last night, but this is the conversation we were having last night about, there's a direct correlation with paying your employees a living wage and providing them with good health care and customer satisfaction and high employee retention, right? Just look at, Costco, for example. Not only does Costco have a killer business and make a ton of money, but they treat their employees right. Most of Costco's employees would say they enjoy working there. They have great benefits. They're getting paid well. The working conditions are safe. So you feel a sense of pride when you come to work. But according to the flight attendants at Spirit, right, if you have disgruntled customers screaming and yelling and demoralizing you, right, over their $25 airline ticket, well, maybe that's not a sustainable business model, right? Maybe that type of business model is sustainable for like a bus service, but for planes, I don't know. Professor Darius is from Buenos Aires to JFK. American Airlines has tons of flights. I mostly fly American. Jax is Air Canada. DC322 says, Tom, I will fly JetBlue next year to San Diego. The favorite airline I've ever been on, by far, was Korea Air, as well as the Asiana Airlines. This is Columbus Circle. Yeah, Emirates is awesome too. I think I only paid $850 one way when I went to Korea. It was $850 one way, and I think $1,000 coming back, something like that. Here's another shot of Deutsche Bank Center, and it looks like, the Mandarin Oriental Hotel is pretty full. This is now merging back on Central Park South. Someone says, how bad is Chapter 11 bankruptcy? Well, it's not going to affect their operations. The company will probably go through some sort of restructuring. Maybe someone will buy it. It's yet to be seen, but that's probably what will happen in Spirit's case. Just pricing, generally speaking, across the board has gone up significantly. I remember I used to be able to get, a one-way ticket to Miami from JFK, $70, $75. Now the cheapest thing I could get, like the cheapest thing, is like $150. I usually wind up paying, $220, maybe $185, $190. But I remember the good old days, man, you used to be able to get airline tickets, Miami, New York, $75. NBA Live, Tom, would you fly Korean Airlines to Asia again or back to Korea? I mean, it's a good question. The planes were amazing. I forget the model of the plane, but it was the largest, I think, commercial airliner. It had 2 stories, but it didn't have any Wi-Fi, which was the most bizarre thing. It was the most luxurious plane I've ever been on, but it had no Wi-Fi, which is quite brutal for a 15-hour flight. But the Asiana Airlines was also great, and they did have Wi-Fi. So I think I would probably fly Asiana. Yeah, I think it was the Airbus 380. Let me see. Steve says Airbus 380. I think you're right. It was a really cool experience because the plane, there was a spiral staircase, and it had like a little bit of a shop, like a shopping center on the plane. Not like a huge mall, but it was like a little store you could buy things. It was cool. It was an awesome experience. And that was my first time ever flying internationally. Now, if you want to fly business, or if you want to fly like first class, I think, you're probably talking, this is the New York Athletic Club, by the way. That's probably going to run you maybe, $8,000 to $10,000, which I think that's just too much to spend on one way just to fly somewhere. Even if I had the money, I just don't think you could justify that. It's just too much. Maybe if you're constantly doing those 15-hour flights, maybe, but that's just crazy money. $10,000. This is the JW Marriott Essex House. Looks like they're putting up their Christmas stuff. Mondays says, Tom, you have to use credit card points to fly business or first class international. It's way more reasonable. Yeah, I'm not really good at any of that stuff. I may have to do a little bit more research into that, but with the amount, over the last 5 years, with the amount I've used my Amex card, I must have like 2 trillion points. Brad's Brain says, Tom, what's your wildest flight experience ever? No, I've never had an aborted landing. Now, I had just a terrible overall 2022 flying experience because every single flight I was on was either delayed significantly, one of which we were going down the runway and the plane's battery died, I guess. So we were barreling down the runway, the battery dies, and then we had to get towed back to the gate. Yeah, I just think 2022 or 2021 and 2022 were just terrible for air travel, with everything being so screwed up, to be quite honest. This is a really good steakhouse, by the way, Bourbon Steak. This spot is awesome. I don't know if you could see inside, but the dining room is so beautiful. Everything is Art Deco. It's just really awesome in there. Bourbon Steak. I think the rain is starting to pick up a little bit. Little horse and buggy action there. All right, what do you guys think for tomorrow? Nvidia reporting earnings tomorrow. Do you think it's going to be a beat? Do you think they're going to come just in line with expectations? Or do you think it's going to be a big miss? What are your thoughts overall? I think Nvidia will beat expectations. That's my view. Monday says beat per usual. Here's another horse. Thomas is Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley both predict the S&P 500 will reach 6,500 by year end. Well, here's the only concern I had. This guy, I forget his name, but he's like a very notorious analyst at Morgan Stanley for being such a doomer. You know, he's been a managing director, he's been an MD at Morgan Stanley for God knows how long. The guy probably makes a few $1 million a year, and he couldn't be more wrong all the time. He always predicts the S&P is going to fall. He always predicts a recession. You know, and this guy makes millions of dollars a year, and then he just put out a report saying he thinks the S&P is going to have a rip-roaring rally in Q1 and go to 6,500 on the S&P. So I'm like, yikes. If that guy is thrown in the towel, maybe, you know, we could use his call as some exit liquidity and leg out of here, maybe in Q1. I forget the guy's name. He's like, unfortunately, one of the most famous equity analysts at Morgan Stanley. And he's been bearish since the lows of '08. No, I know. Thomas says nobody has a crystal ball. Most economists are bearish. But this guy's an equity research managing director. That means he's probably advising clients to get short exposure on the S&P since the lows of '08. Sarah, you're right. Wilson, that guy. I think this was his first bullish report ever in his entire tenure. You're right. Peters is Mike Wilson's an equity analyst. Yeah, Mike Wilson. Thomas is Peter Lynch and Beat the Street. Shared how some 6th grade picked better stocks than Ivy League graduate. Yeah, that's a really good book. Peter Lynch used to run the Fidelity Magellan Fund. One Up on Wall Street. It's a really good book by him. This is the Plaza Hotel. But One Central Park South is the residences. And then you have the hotel on the other side. Now, if you're just joining, today was the first day that options started to trade on iBit. Oh, here's another Cybertruck, which is the BlackRock iShares ETF. And tomorrow, you're going to have more derivative exposure across the board of spot Bitcoin ETFs, including the Bitwise ETF. Bitwise is a great company, by the way. I know some of those guys over there. Awesome company. I think they're actually hiring a few positions, by the way. So if you are in New York and if you're interested in Bitcoin and the crypto markets, I think they have an analyst position open. If you want to send me an email, I'll send you the link to apply. It's a little bit lower base than, I would say, street norms, but you get equity. And I would say, Bitwise is probably going to grow into a monster crypto asset management firm. You could think like a mini T. Rowe Price, but for Bitcoin. This is Grand Army Plaza South. This is going to be all brand new here. Looks pretty good. It's good that they're redoing it. And this is a cool shot looking all the way down 5th Avenue. Paul says NVIDIA has a bad chip. Well, what is the rumor on that? That the chips are overheating when you put them in the racks? This is the main Apple store. Now, a lot of the older, I shouldn't say older, but former true market leading stocks of 2021 are starting to kind of try to make their comeback. I just recently added a few of them back to the watch list. I don't have any positions in them. But Atlassian, which was one of my biggest winners of all time in 2021, that stock is trying to regain its footing again and come out of a stage 1 base. So if you look at a monthly time frame of Atlassian, ticker symbol TEAM, company's not profitable yet, still losing money, but I threw that one back on the watch list. Just some of these names, very seldom they can become actionable again, but some of these enterprise software powerhouses I think is worth an extra look. And that's one of those stocks that have kind of been lost and forgotten. Coming off the back of 2 really solid earnings reports, both beat and raised, so yeah, Chris, I saw that. ARK just bought $267 million in Bitcoin. MicroStrategy, I think, just bought, 56,000 Bitcoin, something crazy like that. Issuing debt to raise to buy Bitcoin. We talked a lot about that tonight, too, on the show. This is that Four Seasons Hotel. And 432 Park. But guys, I gotta run, gotta get back to the office. But if you enjoyed the live stream so far tonight or tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new. If you like these financial conversations, we do write a free investing newsletter we send out every other Thursday. We just sent out our latest one last Thursday where we talked a lot about regulatory environment for Bitcoin. We talked about Gary Gensler, who could potentially replace him. What is that going to mean for institutions? What is that going to mean for custodial let me just cross the street here. For the big banks, can they custody the asset? Can they collateralize the asset? What does it mean? You could read our article there, but kind of tired. Got to get back to the office and then hopefully try to get some sleep. So I'll see you guys tomorrow. So Hang with Mark Mom, Joseph Hardaway, thank you so much. All of our moderators, Stephen Bate, Patrice 2020, Hawaii, Philip, Hang with Mark Mom, Jack Jackson, Steve, Joe Driver, Western Mass, Dave, Sally, Jack. Thanks so much. And we will see you guys very, very soon. Cheers.